Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It is January 1st, 2016, and we are so flattered that you are spending your day with us, starting your year off with us. And since it's the first of the year, it's a good time to look back at some of the best moments of last year. Of course, those include when Matt Drudge appeared right here in the InfoWars studio, actually standing just a few feet behind the camera that you're viewing me through right now. Also, Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper, the professional wrestler and actor, star of They Live, passed away this past year, so we're going to take a look at one of his great interviews. Paul Joseph Watson and Joe Biggs went to Paris to document the city after the Paris attacks, and award-winning journalist Cy Hersh talked to Alex about a bombshell interview talking about things going on at the Pentagon that you cannot afford to miss. It's all happening right here, right now, on the InfoWars Nightly News.
And I'm so sick of people that don't like humanity. So I get wound up because it's fight and flight, and there's nowhere to run. So I'm like a raccoon in the garage that somebody's about to kill, man. I don't have a choice. I'm gonna fight. Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction, easy assembly, low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.
Your agency was saying, quote, the Salafists, the Muslim Brotherhood, and Al-Qaeda in Iraq are the major forces driving the insurgency in Syria. In 2012, the US was helping coordinate arms transfers to those same groups. Why did you not stop that?
It was a decision. I think it was a willful decision.
A willful decision to go support an insurgency that had Salafists, Al-Qaeda, and Muslim
Brotherhood. A willful decision to do what they're doing, which you'd have to really ask the president, what is it that he actually is doing?
That was General Michael Flynn several months ago on Al Jazeera talking about the fact that President Obama gave them orders to basically build up ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and that was the set policy. And the interviewer says, oh, you mean they didn't know what was happening? He says, no, they consciously told us to do that. Well, this is the information we had 3 years ago from military, high level and low level, giving us the same information. And the fact that General Dempsey, on the eve of airstrikes against Syria, went to the White House and said the military from the brass on down are not going to be Al-Qaeda's Air Force. And we saw Senator Ted Cruz go public, we saw Senator Rand Paul go public and make similar statements that our military and our people do not want to be Al-Qaeda's Air Force. Now, since then, we've had the schizophrenic or helter-skelter or oxymoronic policy is a better term of Turkey and other countries funding ISIS and Al-Qaeda and al-Nusra, and the West giving them weapons, tow missiles, Stinger missiles, you name it, Hillary Clinton namely. Benghazi was just one part of that. It's ongoing. At the same time that the United States military and CENTCOM has been giving intel to the Russians, giving intel to the Syrians, giving intel to other people that are actually fighting ISIS. Now, we've known this. We've had CIA whistleblowers on, like Tosh Plumlee. We've had Colonel Schaefer on to talk about it. InfoWars has been at the very forefront of exposing it. But now, in a review of Seymour Hersh, the two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, his new book, Military to Military, the London Review of Books, it's also in other publications like New Yorker, have excerpts of his new book interviewing other generals, as well as Flynn, breaking all this down. I mean, this is incredible. And mainstream media almost spins it like it's not a counter coup happening with the military saying no to treason, arming Al-Qaeda and ISIS. But that's what it is. And so then the State Department separately, just as Tosh Plumlee exposed 3 years ago, has to use its import-export power to order weapons transfers that's even above the Pentagon and the CIA. The military may have its problems and certainly, you know, aren't perfect, but they don't want to arm Al-QAEDA to murder every Christian group in Syria. They don't want to overthrow our allies, Egypt, and put the Muslim Brotherhood in that's Al-QAEDA light. They understand this is directly against America's interest, and it's a war crime. And again, it doesn't even help our country or even our own elites. Why are they doing this? Well, the argument is if Assad's an enemy of the West, even though he tried to help us on 9/11 and other events, but still listed as terrorist, if he's a supposed enemy, take him down regardless. But you don't take him down and then put people in that are 50 times worse. So there's a major fight going on for the heart and soul of America. And I got to tell you, I'm always hearing this talk about let's have a military coup, let's stop the globalists that way. Military coups almost always turn out worse than what you already had. But with the situation in World War II in 1944, when the German high command knew that what Hitler was doing was going to destroy Germany, that they'd lose millions of more people, that the Soviets were going to occupy them, that the Russians were going to come in, they moved to eliminate Hitler. Now, I'm not saying anybody should go after Obama because he's just a puppet, but the neocon globalist groups that he represents and the Clintons and others are steering this country towards World War III, not just in Syria, but in Ukraine against Russia. They are a clear and present danger. And I can only liken what's happening to a soft Valkyrie or a soft counter coup, because it's not a coup. We already have foreign globalist corporate hedge fund interest and their front people who aren't even military playing with stuff that could cause World War III very easily. And it's our own military that's usually pushing for war in the days of Curtis LeMay wanting nuclear war with the Russians and L.L. Embitzer. Usually I'm like, let's have the statesmen hold back some of the war hawks at the Pentagon. It's the war hawks at the Pentagon, time and time again, quietly trying to stop what is leading, most analysts say, towards a larger confrontation with Russia that could easily lead to thermonuclear war. They called the Cold War World War III. So really, this is World War IV, a hot war that we're on the verge of. And World War I started in proxy wars. World War II started in that as well. We are going down a very, very dangerous path. But the good news is the globalists have gone too far. They've jumped the shark. I mean, it takes a lot of nerve. They've got to think we're really stupid to try to openly overthrow all these Middle Eastern countries, including our allies, create failed states in places like Libya and Syria, and then Hillary gets in the Democratic debates 2 weeks ago and says, oh, you know, Libya and Syria are right where they're supposed to be, a failed state, breaking them up in pieces and then giving part of it to the radical Wahhabists out of Saudi Arabia. That is working with terrorists. That is opening the door to them. And that brings us into part two of this. Why would they bring in millions of jihadis, invaders out of Syria, people that came in to invade Syria into Europe, hundreds of thousands into the US, knowing they're going to attack? Well, they think we're so stupid that when the jihadis do attack, they'll take our guns, our liberties, our freedoms, instead of stopping the flow of the folks that are attacking us. They're going to use this threat. And MSNBC, The Morning Joe, just today, came out and said, don't worry about the Islamic threat. Worry about white gun owners. They're the big crime rate. Despite the fact, and we'll show some of these on screen, crime rates are down over 50+% since 1991, and white males consist of the lowest crime rate of any male group. Look it up for yourself. But, oh, there's an epidemic of white males killing everyone. This is an inversion of reality.
You're telling Muslim Americans they all need to come out and talk about the tiny percentage of their community that has kind of, quite frankly, wreaked havoc. But yet, you look at the data of white men with guns wreaking havoc on this country. Why aren't white men all coming forward? Why don't you call on them to do that?
I actually am doing a lot of things.
And finally, in the hypocrisy department, Hillary Clinton during the Democratic debate this weekend said that Donald Trump's being used in ISIS recruiting videos. The entire media checked it. It's not true. Turns out the Clintons are being used in ISIS recruiting videos. Turns out the Clintons have been giving weapons through Benghazi to ISIS and on other occasions. So this shows how dumb they think we are. Hillary out Brian Williams years ago, claiming that she'd been in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, and had been shot at in the air, shot at on the ground, and then they cut to the CBS footage. Nothing happened that day when she got off the tarmac onto the red carpet. She's a liar. So why is she allowed to blame Donald Trump for ISIS when out of everybody that's involved in this, she, as the head of the State Department, literally quarterbacked the operation?
What difference at this point does it make?
Now, David Knight's going to break down more excerpts of Cy Hersh's book here in just a moment, right here in this studio. But we wanted to really focus in on this tonight because it's a big deal. This is going on behind the scenes, and it gives me a lot of faith that there are still a lot of good people in our government and in our system. But they need us, we the people, to stand up and support what they're doing as well. Because if the fact that criminals have hijacked our government are funding terrorists and letting them into our country to destabilize us ever gets out to the general public, it could cripple the globalists forever. We are at a key point now, ladies and gentlemen, and this is not a coup because the globalists have already taken over. They're illegitimate. The military is engaged in a stealth, very moderate counter coup against what the establishment's doing, and it is a big, big deal. And truth is stranger than fiction. I never imagined that we'd see resistance to this tyranny coming from these quarters, but it is happening. Alex Jones, signing off for Infowars.com. Back to David Knight.
Thanks, Alex. And that was Cy Hersh's Military on Military. He points out about military resistance to our government's policies in terms of arming and equipping ISIS. He says that resistance dates back to the summer of 2013. It comes from Defense Intelligence Agency, Joint Chiefs of Staff, then General Martin Dempsey, all talked about how the fall of the Assad regime would lead to chaos and potentially to Syria's takeover by jihadis. They say they had an all-source appraisal. That means that it was coming from signals intelligence, from satellite intelligence, from human intelligence, pointing out that there was a covert U.S. program to arm and support the moderate rebels fighting Assad. It had been co-opted by Turkey. It had morphed into an across-the-board technical arms and logistical program for all of the opposition, including al-Nusra and the Islamic State, ISIS. The so-called moderates, he says, had evaporated, and the Free Syrian Army was nothing but a rump group stationed at an air base in Turkey. He said the assessment was bleak. There was no viable moderate opposition to Assad, and the U.S. was arming extremists.
Cy Hersh has revealed in his latest offering titled Military to Military that while Obama continued his campaign of lies regarding President Bashar al-Assad's tenuous hold on power, the Joint Chiefs of Staff were altering the playing field with shared intelligence. Pulitzer Prize winner Hersh has broken new ground once again, divulging a quiet alliance between Germany, Israel, and Russia of shared tactical intelligence in order to freeze the advance of al-Nusra and ISIS in the fall of 2013.
Do I think that our actions in any way violate the War Powers Resolution? The answer is no.
President Obama and then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's failed foreign policy aimed at toppling Gaddafi's Libya and Morsi's Egypt resulted in a power vacuum immediately filled with Islamic fundamental extremism. Obama's constant demand that Assad must go chaotically echoed the previous coups and, if accomplished, could give the Islamic State the upper hand in the region.
Do you know any major Arab ally that embraces ISIL?
I know major Arab allies who fund them.
General Dempsey and the Joint Chiefs of Staff decided that Obama's meddling in the Middle East had to be countered. The Joint Chiefs of Staff quietly shared intelligence with key allies in order to give Syria the tactical advantage. However, Syria had to agree to these 4 terms. Cy Hersh writes, first, Assad must keep Hezbollah from attacking Israel. Second, he must renew negotiations with Israel on the Golan Heights. Third, he must accept Russian and other outside military advisors. And fourth, he must commit to holding open elections after the war with a wide range of factions. Assad essentially agreed to these conditions over time, and that led to major shifts in the war that are generally now known to the public. Meanwhile, the Obama administration was touting the narrative that an anti-Islamic State coalition with Russia would prove to be impossible and non-beneficial. However, by allying with Russian military, General Dempsey and the Joint Chiefs of Staff proved that not only was a coalition possible, The shared knowledge of the Islamic State between Russia and the United States would serve to weaken their advance into Syria. Russia had been fighting Islamic State leaders in the two Chechen wars that began in 1994, and they were very familiar with the ISIS leadership, while the U.S. had been training foreign fighters for years. This experience and a long-standing tradition of applying target information with massive sums of money would prove to be devastating to ISIS's leadership. And as the coalition quietly made progress, it became abundantly clear that the so-called Syrian moderate rebels Obama kept referring to were more of a fantasy than a reality. To this day, retired General Dempsey is perplexed by Obama's bold-faced lie that Turkey's Erdogan is a staunch ally with the United States in the fight against the Islamic State. Cy Hersh writes, Dempsey and his associates remained mystified by Obama's continued public defense of Erdogan, given the American intelligence community's strong case against him, and the evidence that Obama in private accepts that case. Hersh wrote last spring, Obama said to Turkey's intelligence chief, "We know what you're doing with the radicals in Syria." After Dempsey retired in September, General Dunford and an entirely new and obedient staff was installed to back up all of Obama's lies, as is evident by their communal hatred of Donald Trump. Cy Hersh has presented nothing less than another testament to Obama's pitiful leadership of the U.S. military, built upon a pile of half-baked falsehoods, now proven without a shadow of a doubt to be treasonous support for the Islamic State. John Bound for NoWorldOrder.com.
All right, we're going to cut this segment short because I understand we have an urgent phone call right now from Admiral Akbar of the Rebel Alliance. Admiral, thanks for joining us. You know, we were just talking about the internet kill switch, and Barack Obama, you know, he just said that he thinks we should hand power of the internet over to the federal government. Like, that sounds like a scary thought. And Obama says it will be used fairly and distributed equally. What do you say to that?
It's a trap.
What happened? Did we lose him?
My whole life has been so good. There's been a lot of trials and tribulations, but all of it's made me stronger. And I just want to experience this journey with you. I want our children to grow up together, and their children to have a future that goes to the stars and beyond. And we can do this. I just want to win. I want humanity to succeed. And I'm so sick of people that don't like humanity. So I get wound up because it's fight and flight, and there's nowhere to run. So I'm like a raccoon in the garage that somebody's about to kill, man. I don't have a choice. I'm gonna fight. Shane Steiner's involvement with InfoWarsLife.com truly happened in an organic way. I went to high school with Shane. His brother knew his parents well, and he was visiting the office once, hadn't been to the office in years, and said, "Wow, I notice you're making and selling supplements. Do these really work? Because I've tried a lot of supplements as a workout enthusiast, and I really think most of them are hype." And I said, "Here, take some home, try it." Well, a few weeks later, he came in blown away and said, "I want to buy 3 boxes of this stuff to give my friends and family. It's simply amazing." He said, "Why does it work so well?" And I said, "Listen, go to InfoWarsLife.com, watch the informational videos with Dr. Group and others. They understand how it all works. I know that it works for me. That's all I understand. The science, the facts, the research, people's testimonials, they're all on InfoWarsLife.com. You can check it out for yourself."
I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to push myself and work out harder, and that led to me being able to come out and do stuff like the barefooting and the surfing and stuff like that, which I've never done. I never would have done that 2 years ago.
Shane has said over and over again, more than just libido and energy, it made him want to get into the gym more. It made him want to get in better shape. And believe me, the Steiners have amazing genetics. His brother is a world champion steer wrestler. His dad, Bobby Steiner, is a famous world champion bull rider. They've got natural genetics. But when you added this to the mix, in Shane's own words, it took him to the next level. Shane noticed the mental clarity. Bobby was able to work out longer and gain muscle mass. He's already completely shredded. I gotta admit, for me, the biggest effect has been libido. Now, I've never claimed to have a body like some beach model, but back when I was 20, 22 years old and worked out every day, I looked great. But over the years, and being married, having 3 kids, working 18 hours a day, I gained basically 100 pounds. And it's been a long process losing that weight in the last 4 years. But if you look at the photos and the videos of what I looked like 4 or 5 years ago versus today, the results are dramatic. I'd already cleaned up my diet, I was working out hard, but I'd only lost about 20 pounds. It was adding the other key ingredients from InfoWarsLife.com that helped me personally go to the next level and shed another 35 pounds.
This has actually made me feel so good that here lately, about a year ago, I started training jiu-jitsu, and that kind of led to doing some boxing and kickboxing. I mean, it's amazing that 2 years ago, I was on the couch and couldn't even tie my shoes, and now I'm training with MMA fighters and just doing stuff that I never thought that I would be doing ever again. So Super Male Vitality has allowed me to do some amazing things, and if it has those kind of effects for me, I know that it will do great things for you. So just try Super Male Vitality. I promise you, you'll love it.
And finally, let's look at Anthony Gucciardi, InfoWars.com reporter. He also works with Dr. Group and others, helping develop the newest, most cutting-edge, high-quality supplements. Let's take a look at what happened when he tried to barefoot ski for the first time with the Steiners. And remember, we're not making fun of him. He had the will to get in the arena, and he's lost more than 10 pounds in the last few years of fat and gained more than 10 pounds of muscle. And Anthony chalks it up to Super Male Vitality as well. Bottom line, folks, you want to discover the power of Super Male Vitality and Super Female Vitality for yourself by visiting InfoWarsLife.com today or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. He joins us now. Mr. Hersh, thank you for coming on.
The big issue is the question, one of the big questions is, we've demonized Bashar Assad. He's a dictator, no question. You cross him, he'll cross you. He's a lot better than his father, the old man Assad, Hafiz Assad. He was trained to be, he was the second or third son, never thought he'd be president because the older boys had the pass. Went to medical school, was an ophthalmologist, married a very second-generation Iraqi woman who worked for one of the national, investment houses, American investment houses in London. And so he was not, all of a sudden there he's called upon. His older brother dies, and his father says, "You better get a couple years of army training and get ready." So he's hated in America. I don't think you can get 5 votes for him in Congress. He's demonized. Is killed. There's about 250,000 deaths.
But he's a lot better than Al-QAEDA.
Well, you know something, and ISIS, and also things that I watched him for 6, 8, 10 years. I went back and forth there. I've been going there to the Middle East a lot since 9/11, and he's got much more open. You could bank there. You could have the you can go to an ATM machine. There were 30 different foreign broadcasts on TV. He was opening. Yes, when you cross him, he's going to fight you to the end. It's a war to the end. He's fighting ISIS. He's fighting Al-QAEDA. He's fighting al-Nusra. These are people that hang and garrote. Some of the horrible stuff that happened. He's had as many as 200 of his soldiers executed at one sitting by these people. So it's a war in which he's killed a lot and they've killed a lot. And it's a war to the end. And he's what I wrote about in part was that our Joint Chiefs decided some years ago on the basis of intelligence reporting that there really wasn't any option, that there really were no moderates. Although the White House keeps on talking about there are moderate groups in the opposition. There were at one time, but they were quickly taken over and cleaned out by the more radical jihadists, people who believe in Sharia law. Some of the groups we advocate as moderate have already made it clear that if they ever took over the government, no Christians or Alawites, that's a minority sect, Shia sect that Bashar Assad and about 12% of the people living in Syria belong to. None of them could be allowed to live in the country. They were talking about genocidal, genocidal cleaning. cleansing, if you will, of a society. Those are the moderate groups. So there you are. So the option was the Joint Chiefs looking at the intelligence, looking at the fact that we had been supporting for years covertly. This is through the CIA, David Petraeus. I would argue that Hillary Clinton surely should have been aware of this. She was Secretary of State. We began to, after Libya fell, we began to funnel stuff that in an earlier article I called the rat line. A lot of arms from Libya into Turkey, and from Turkey, the gentleman running Turkey, Erdogan, is a total, complete supporter of ISIS. I don't think there's any question of that, even though we deny that. Our intelligence shows it. So what I wrote about is the fact that 2.5 years ago, the Joint Chiefs decided, well, they can't convince the White House and the State Department with intelligence. They're just going to begin to do what they can do to try and modify the American policy or make it less, nobody wants to talk about directly challenging a president. That's not your job. But I will tell you, at the certain level, at the Joint Chiefs, the level of 4-star generals, the oath of office is an oath to the Constitution, not to the president.
That's right.
And it's very traditional. You can go back to Douglas MacArthur. You can go back to World War II fighting. You can go back to terrible fighting in Vietnam.
President Eisenhower, as the president, challenged the military-industrial complex as a system himself, the ultimate level, still a general saying, I want to challenge the people that want to control our military for their own aims.
There you go. There you go. And you can even argue that the hatred for McNamara, by the time he was ready to get out of there in '67 because he refused to listen to the generals. We've always had generals in opposition, so this isn't new. What they did, though, instead of directly challenging the Joint Chiefs, as I wrote about, beginning in the summer of 2013, after a lot of intelligence showed that our path was wrong. We weren't going to win. If we got rid of Bashar, we were going to have a government completely full of wackos, wingnuts. A hard line to take off their head people.
Clearly worse. I mean, a whole new Afghanistan.
Well, there you go. Well, look, Afghanistan's still a mess right now. People always talk. I'm a big supporter. I was in the Army. There's nothing better than America. It's the greatest country to be in. But we do have a lot of freedoms. And I will tell you that our special operation forces, the Delta Force, the SEALs, they're terrific. They're very good at what they do. But they're being miscast. We're now in 14.5 years of a war against an idea, and the Joint Special Operations Command, for all of their ability to go hit a house at night and kill people and take them out, we're not winning that war. Well, it's interesting. What they did was, because they didn't want to go directly to Bashar Assad, because the president had ruled that, that would have been direct violation. But we did know that the Germans in particular, the German intelligence service, and the German high command, and get this, the Russians and the Israelis, all three had been in contact with Bashar Assad, because all three, even Israel, which sometimes, doesn't always speak what the real policy is, they've got a lot of government problems, leadership problems, but the guys running the military and intelligence system in Israel had the same point of view as the guys running at least that were running our Joint Chiefs, because the general at the time was General Dempsey.
They're sane.
Martin Dempsey, who's now retired. There's a new chairman, and we don't know where he stands on this, because publicly he's said little. He's only a couple of months into it. I understand a very competent Marine named Dumford. I just don't know much about him. I know more about Dempsey. And
was Dempsey the big hero in this, going to Obama saying...
Well, he wouldn't look at it that way. He just did something... The issue was we were going the wrong way. The Germans and the Russians and the Israelis were begging for intelligence. One thing America does, and we do it very well, we have terrific intelligence. We have satellite. We have SIGINT intelligence. We do have people on the ground. Believe me, we can do better. We can do better than anybody wants to write about with certain groups. We can penetrate people. We're not incompetent, but often it's the leadership that gets you in trouble. So they decided that the Germans in particular were kept on saying, what can you do to help us? They began in the fall of 2013. We began to shovel stuff that we had about al-Nusra, al-Qaeda, ISIS. We began to shovel information not only about where they were, but what they were thinking, as much as we learned. And so we enabled Bashar's army, the Syrian army, which right now has probably emerged, and it's been fighting a tough war for 4 years. It's emerged as one of the better armies in that area. a hell of a lot better army, for example, in the Iraqi army or anything we have in Afghanistan. So what they did is they did it that way. And that way they were sort of, as somebody in the article I wrote said, you know, we're doing stuff military to military. The president may not have known, but there's a lot of stuff he doesn't know about. So that's the way they got around the issue. And they began to help it and help Bashar. Not only that, it was very much a morale builder for the Syrian army to know that they were getting very high-level intelligence. So I don't know how history is going to judge this. As you can gather, stories like this in the mainstream press don't get copied. But it doesn't matter because there's the internet. You know, there's guys like you and all sorts of other people around the world that pay more attention than often the major papers here. You know, I worked for the New York Times for 8 or 9 years during Watergate, and I won a lot of prizes in Vietnam, and certainly the Nixon years a lot. And one of the things, you know, is there's not many reporters at a good newspaper who have the kind, you know, there's nothing special. I have friends that I know. Most of the good guys at the major papers have somebody. And when you're at that level, where you've got access and you're covering the Pentagon or the State Department or the White House, the last thing you want to do, I know this sounds almost silly. The last thing you want to do is chase somebody else's stories. You just don't want to do it. So when somebody as me bops along and writes a story that says something, the only thing the editor can do is ask one of the good reporters to do it. And what they want to do is figure out some way to get this out, turf this, get this off their desk. So it doesn't really happen. It doesn't happen with the papers. And I understand it because I'm sure I did the same thing. We're all, we all love what we do, and we're more interested ourselves than anybody else. That's one of the things about my business that's sort of wacky.
And I just want to experience this journey with you. I want our children to grow up together and their children to have a future that goes to the stars and beyond. And we can do this. I just want to win. I want humanity to succeed. And I'm so sick of people that don't like humanity. So I get wound up because it's fight and flight, and there's nowhere to run. So I'm like a raccoon in the garage somebody's about to kill, man. I don't have a choice. I'm going to fight.
You guys have the exclusive for, which is a product called Deep Cleanse. And why I'm so excited about it is it's a unique formula, almost like the iodine crystals. We have 2 unique products that nobody in the world has. One of the most amazing ingredients in the world, and it's called shilajit, and it's actually known as blood of the mountain or rock sweat because thousands of years ago, as a matter of fact, this ingredient was only given to the elite of the elite thousands of years ago up in the Himalayan mountains and in Tibet.
And we wanted to put this in stuff for a couple years, but we couldn't get an organic form.
Right. I mean,
so let's explain. I mean, this stuff's so good, we couldn't put it out for years.
Right. So I had to actually, it's kind of like the iodine crystals, finding a source deep in the earth that we could get the cleanest source available. But in Tibet and in Nepal and in the Himalayan mountains, thousands of years ago, they watched these monkeys. And during the summer months, the monkeys would go up into the mountains.
Now you're being racist against monkeys.
And they would pick this black substance from the mountains. And so in Russia, they actually, it grows in Russia in the mountains and in the Himalayas and only in the summer. And shilajit is actually the decomposition of up to 7,000 different medicinal herbs. So it decomposes, all these different herbs decompose in the Himalayan mountains and the volcanic soil up there. And what happens in the summertime...
So it's almost like an oil from...
Yes, it's high in fulvic acid, it's high in humic acid.
Because they're always claiming oil is really from decomposed animals and plants. There is some oil that is based from fossils, but most of it's really abiotic. But so this is a true fossil source? I mean, explain it to me.
It is, it's really the decomposition, like I said, of over 7,000 different medicinal herbs and plants. And with the rocks and the pressure deep in the mountains, it freezes and during the summertime and the pressures build it up.
It oozes out.
It oozes out. So it literally oozes out of the mountain.
It's like rock sap.
It's like rock sap. It's black, and it's highly nutritious. Even in the 1980s, when the Olympic athletes in Russia were accused of being on steroids. They found out that they were actually been given Shilajit because it works as an anabolic as well, and it builds muscles. It's a big dose in there. The second big main ingredient in there is a volcanic zeolite concentrate. And what this formula is designed to do, the Shilajit and the zeolites have a real strong negative charge. All the metals and chemicals and PCBs and VOCs have positive charges. So these go in, they grab it, and then they safely eliminate it through the body so you can become healthy. I mean, this is an amazing formula. I wish I actually had it, but because this was an exclusive InfoWars Life product, you're the only one in the world that has this formula now. And, you know, there is going to be a limited supply available when you sell out because you can only harvest this once a year.
How do people take it? How is it recommended that this be done? Just a daily dose?
Yeah, daily dose. The instructions are on the label. You know, of course, I kind of modify it for each individual. It depends on what your lifestyle is. I mean, honestly, the best thing to do is for you to avoid all these chemicals and toxins in your environment and try to identify them and start slowly reducing them. But personally, I'm going to probably take it every day, every other day, and I'll probably go with about a dropper full to maybe 2 dropper fulls. And I don't expose myself to any chemicals.
InfoWarsLife.com. Please also support our local AM and FM affiliates, support their local sponsors or become a sponsor, and spread the word. Because these aren't just great products. This is how we fund this independent operation. We're not taxpayer funded like MSNBC or NPR, and neither is your local station. So support them, folks. This is a war. Because I feel like this all the time, trying to politically awaken people that they're being lied to, that there's an agenda. It's not left or right. It's, hey, there's mind control going on. The signal's broadcast 24 hours a day through all this media. Just become aware of it, and they'll say there's nothing going on. And I want to say, put on these glasses or start chewing concrete.
They have taken the hearts and minds of our leaders. They have recruited the rich and the powerful, and they have blinded us to the truth.
The question is, do we all work for central bankers? That's what I want to address to our guest tonight.
Our impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep.
An estimated 50 to 70 million Americans suffer from a sleep disorder or sleep deprivation.
Outside the limit of our sight, feeding off us, perched on top of us from birth to death, are our owners.
Latest census numbers prove the United States has the biggest gap between rich and poor compared to all westernized countries today.
Our projections show that by the year 2025, not only America, but the entire planet will be under the protection and the dominion of this power alliance. The gains have been substantial, both for ourselves and for you, the human power elite.
And for the first time in all of human history, mankind is politically awakened. That's a total new reality.
I've got one that can see.
We can't be the only ones who can see.
Unfortunately, you've grown up hearing voices that incessantly warn of government as nothing more than some separate, sinister entity that's at the root of all our problems.
It's a new morning in America. Fresh, vital. The old cynicism is gone. We have faith in our leaders. We're optimistic as to what becomes of it all. It really boils down to our ability to accept. We don't need pessimism.
I have 2 words for you. Predator drones.
And who are you, little fella?
You will never see it coming.
I'm predicting the first guy who uses a Second Amendment weapon to bring a drone down that's been hovering over his house is going to be a folk hero in this country.
Nice. There is a signal broadcast every second of every day through our television sets.
I'm just trying to warn you folks, the television is a giant LED weapon system. It's so advanced. They got a monkey farm in Bastrop, folks, that they do all sorts of testing on great apes, rhesus monkeys, the whole 9 yards. And they go, oh, you didn't see this, and punch a button, and it'd be hundreds of monkeys with wires in their brains with television sets brainwashing them.
All I ever have to do is be famous. People watch me, and they love me.
You can have a little taste of that good life, too. Now, I know you want it. Hell, everybody does.
Do it to your own kind.
What's the threat? We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team.
The real men of the world have to stand up and say, I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. Time to take a stand, boys. You know what? You got a little courage. Stand up for yourself.
Waging war on corruption. It's Alex Jones coming to you live from the front lines.
I think the jury's out on whether this was completely staged or not. I don't think it was from the evidence we have mounting. There is kind of a leftist attempt to take over the, quote, conspiracy movement. That just means questioning movement, and to basically brand any type of Islamic misbehavior as a conspiracy theory. No, it's a fact that ISIS has been murdering hundreds of thousands of people, along with al-Nusra and al-Qaeda, same group, and our government's been supporting it. That's the real conspiracy, and the real conspiracy is opening the borders and bringing them in to do it, which I just think shows the incredible arrogance. They don't care if ISIS kills people. They'll just take more of our rights. And they think the public's so dumb that the politicians won't be held accountable. But, Paul, there's real anger taking place right now, and I think the establishment has miscalculated. I think Merkel's in trouble. I think the French president's in trouble, no matter how much patriotic garbage they involve themselves in. I think you should talk to folks on the street. A lot of them speak English there, and ask, you know, is your government responsible for opening the borders? I mean, your French president closing them now just for, you know, a few months or whatever, that's too little, too late.
Well, yeah, and Hollande, of course, is massively unpopular anyway because he's basically wrecked the economy. So he's going to be out in the next election. And again, as I said yesterday, Marine Le Pen is going to win the first round. She's going to do well in the regional elections coming up here, but they've got a national election in 2017. She's almost certain to win the first round. Then the establishment's going to come in and say that this is going to represent a bigger threat than, you know, Islamic radicalization, because she's the only one really in France who is calling for the radical extremist mosque to be shut down, who is calling for the migrant wave to be turned back. And she's got huge and growing support here in France because she distanced herself from her father, who was seen as more right-wing, more radical. So they're starting to attract more moderate support. There's the Pegida movement in Germany, which is starting to attract more, quote, moderate support. So, you know, a conservative wave is sweeping Europe. It has been for the past year, 18 months. And that's what the political elite, the establishment, are terrified of.
Popping in is Joe Biggs, who's been filing prolific reports from on the ground in Paris, France, with his unique military perspective, being a combat veteran, staff sergeant of Iraq and Afghanistan, multiple Purple Hearts, dealing with these very same types of folks. We do now know about drills they were having. That's being reported by Global Research. That's just general drills. We also know that the CIA head was there the day of the event, but does that mean a pure false flag? Why does it matter? They brought him in to begin with, so the government's to blame regardless. Debate over. Joe Biggs.
Yeah, so I don't believe that it's a false flag attack whatsoever. You know, like Paul said earlier, this has been building up to where it is now. You know, you could see this coming from a mile away. And just like in a fight, Alex, what do? You find a person's weak spot and you continue to hit that spot. You know, Paris is pretty much a very weak spot when you look at it all around. So it's easy for these guys to carry out these attacks in this area. And that's why I think they'll continue. I mean, you have the Prime Minister of France coming out today saying to the people to stay vigilant, that they think that there'll be another attack. And then you also have the president of France coming out saying that these acts.
Feed breaking up to Joe Biggs. You should come back in a moment. Hold on, Joe. We'll come back to you in just a second. And I tend to agree with him. Again, there's real terrorism, folks, but still, it doesn't matter. Our criminal governments allowed it in. And it's not the government low-level's fault. It's the high-level leaders. Joe, you're back.
Yes, I agree. I mean, definitely there's a lot of people up top having a part in what's going on. But at the same time, you know, if people had the ability to protect themselves, a lot of these things wouldn't happen. And it just seems like the governments out there, they don't want that to happen. They want to let the borders wide open. And the fact that you want to come out and call that racist or Islamophobic. It's completely mind-blowing. I don't understand how you can come to that conclusion. You know, the fact that these attacks keep happening, and like Paul said, you don't see a large amount of these Muslims are out here getting beat up or anything like that, but you're seeing a lot of attacks from these Islamic terrorist groups, but yet when you call them out on it, you're Islamophobic, you're a bigot, you're a racist, and that's the craziness that's going on in the world right now.
Well, a lot of the Black Lives Matter groups are getting more intense. They're not apologizing for saying F. Paris. They're saying these are white people. They deserve it.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I mean, number one, the guy, DeRay McKesson, I can't stand that guy. He's a worthless person and the so-called leader of Black Lives Matter. You know, there are a few people in that movement, I think, that have a pure heart who really want to make some kind of change. But that entire movement has been hijacked. It's nothing more than
and a lot of the low-level people are just thugs and criminals or folks that are upset and angry, and they're being manipulated by the mainstream media that legitimizes all of this.
It's disgusting how you can compare a massacre to a poop swastika on a wall. Really, that brought you the pain of losing family members, loved ones, friends that'll never come home, friends that you thought you would see after a concert, but they'll never come back again. You know, so many people wishing they had that last chance to say final words, but these people are complaining and whining because of something drawn on a wall.
The definition is spoiled, rotten babies when they complain we're not getting attention.
It's not just at Mizzou. Go to University of Texas. Go to all of these colleges around the world. It is ridiculous what is being taught, much less the brainwashing going on and the fact that these people are not smart enough to see past that propaganda and come out with a clear, precise thought on really what's going on. They can't see past it.
Brain force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of brain force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're gonna crash, you're gonna feel really bad afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for. You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. Introducing Secret 12, the new InfoWars Life vitamin B12 formulation. Most forms of vitamin B12 are highly processed and synthetic and could not be properly absorbed by the body. That's why for real results, so many are having to turn to painful B12 injections, which are known to have higher absorption rates. Now, InfoWarsLife.com is excited to announce that we can bring you our most bioactive, powerful form of B12 that has been developed with our exclusive perfected process. Secret 12 is a binary of nutramedical grade, bioavailable coenzyme forms of B12, methylcobalamin, the same kind used in B12 injections, and adenosylcobalamin. Secret 12 is simply taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Discover the secret. Secret 12. Secure your revolutionary Secret 12 formula right now at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. I have never had a deer in the headlights experience this crazy because I'm not really a fan of like rock stars, movie stars, people like that. I like politics. And I'm sitting there during that 70-second break and Matt Drudge rounds the corner over here. And it was just like total and complete deer in the headlights. And I'm still double taking here. And then he's hiding over there in the shadows right now. I'm not kidding. They're going to say this is another conspiracy theory. And we got Anthony Gucciardi. Is Matt Drudge over there? He is over there. Come on, just for a second to give the national media a heart attack. Can you just walk over here behind the stage? They're not going to believe it. Nope, see, it's right around this way. I haven't had one photo in 8 years. I know you haven't had one photo in 8 years. All right, I'm going to turn the mic your way. They can do voice print. Is this Matt Drudge? Uh-oh. I know. Okay, it's made up. It's a stunt. April Fools came early. What, how many months early? 5 months early? April Fools, folks, I fooled you. Well, am I supposed to go to rebroadcast now that you're here? Because I mean, you get to hang out with my crew and I'm on the air. This is like diabolical. Oh, my gosh. Anyways, no, seriously. Do you think folks are going to believe Matt Drudge was here?
Probably. I don't even believe he's here.
I didn't believe it, only because it was like such short notice. It was like, boom. I remember years ago. Well, anyways, I'm not going to get into it. This is crazy. All right, well, I'm not going to be aggressive and turn the lights on over there and aim the document cam over there. But Matt Drudge came in, said hi to me, thought it was a 3-minute break, and then went over there. I'm definitely going to have to play a clip or something. Do we have one of those special reports coming back from the next break? All right, this is now entered complete Twilight Zone. Hey, but we got a new article up on InfoWars. Obama arms ISIS militants, pushes gun control on very same day. Obama authorizes resupplying Syrian opposition on same day he demands gun control against American citizens. And, of course, I was covering this Breitbart article a lot that I missed. I miss stuff all the time. I mean, I knew they were doing this, but I didn't know they were actually openly doing it. Obama administration and UN announced global police force to fight extremism in U.S., and then we've got all these callers that want to talk to me. You know, Matt has hosted the Drudge Report show for so long, but also Rush Limbaugh. So I would imagine he could come over here and actually host the show for us, except he's not really here. What if we put a microphone into the darkness coming out of the break, and folks can do a voice print analysis to see if it's Matt Drudge? He's not going to do it? I'm telling you, this is so classically reclusive. I wish I could do that. He is back there right now.
It's taken a lot of work to get to this point.
I know it's taken a lot of work to get to this point. I admire you. Maybe I should become reclusive. Huh? He's a big guy. In good shape, too. I was like, man, who is that big guy? Who is that? I recognize that guy. Who's that with him? I was like, oh, my God. What did I look like, Buckley, when he walked in?
Flabbergasted.
I mean, I literally was like, who is that? You are something else, man. God, I tell you, he's got a lot of class the way he pulls stuff off. I'm kind of the opposite, like a bull in a china shop, a loose cannon. Anyways, I was already super wound up today. I've already had too many DNA forces today, and this has now just pushed me over the edge. I need some Jack Daniels, Buckley, immediately. I'm sure. I've not been drinking since last Thursday. I've been being a good boy. And I've been being nice, but I tell you, I may have to. I don't have any, what do you call them, tranquilizers. But I think I need a tranquilizer dart or something. All right, folks, we'll be right back. No, seriously, because I'm starstruck right now. This is crazy. And the way he did it is even worse. And then it's going to be even worse when they have, like, some major establishment White House-driven publication saying I made it all up. So we at least, well, we can't get a photo for Twitter. What are we going to do? The suspense is deafening. DrudgeReport.com, you can read up there where this guy put stuff on his Facebook, the supposed shooter, about how he just had so many pills he was on, psychotropics, lithium, and other things, that he ended up just taking 5 at a time. So the question is, was he on meds? And the answer is, does a bear, you know, do different things like jump rope in the woods? We'll be right back. All right, folks, Alex Jones here, back live, well into the 3rd hour. I did not do this as a stunt, neither did Matt Drudge. He is here. We got a hot mic over there. He wants to stay literally in the shadows behind a curtain. But this is the king of being able to push a story out and make it the #1 story in the world. They even admit that in the New York Times, that he has more readers on politics and news than Facebook, the New York Times, and the Washington Post, LA Times put together. He's got some of our stories where the shooter himself said he was on a bunch of drugs. He's linked to that today. And that's the story they don't want out there, or the story where CNN took a mixed racial Christian hater and turned him into a right-wing white supremacist and turned him white. They don't want people knowing that, but Matt Drudge and his great crew can link to alternative stories, foreign stories, mainstream stories, photos, mugshots, and really just focus on what Matt Drudge thinks is interesting. And the public tends to agree with him that what he focuses in on is really catching the zeitgeist or the pulse of the people. So he might have 50 links every day where Facebook has 500 million, but he has more traffic. That is the true David versus Goliath story. and this is not scripted. I have no idea where I should go. Matt Drudge, I guess you're here for ACL, or why are you in Austin, Texas?
Well, you were just talking about Facebook, and thanks again for having me here. I'm not on Facebook. I don't do the socials. I've got that little Twitter thing. Even that's kind of disgusting. You know, I've been doing the internet as long as you've been doing this radio show, Alex. Literally every day, as you have. Literally every day, practically. I think you've taken a little more time off than I have, actually.
Yes, I've kind of gone.
And I can't say that about many people because you are a peer without peer. And I'll tell you, I was there before Facebook. I was there before CNN.com. I was there before mostly all of them. I have a very clear perception what the internet is. In my mind, I'm free. I'm not defined by what they say the internet is. Meaning Goldman Sachs, meaning who they invest in for the latest startup, meaning the latest BuzzFeed or Salon or Gawker. Well, Gawker's more independent. But there's a lot of corporate makeover of the internet that I have not adapted to. Simply put, I'm friends with some of them. When I go to New York, I make the 6th Avenue rounds. But I am not a part of that system. I am a free thinker. I'm an American. I'm very concerned with what's happening. So I just give it my all. I've learned how to take care of myself and detach from outcomes because otherwise you can't survive. And I don't know where you are on that topic. I
just follow my instinct because they always tell us how to adapt to be successful, but really we're just adapting to their mindset to be their slaves.
I don't.
No, you don't.
I have remained completely independent from all of them. All of them. I am not influenced by any of them. I need no traffic from Google. I don't care if I get one traffic referral from Google or Bing or Yahoo or any of these others. It's always been that way. Now, if you think of that setup, how rare that is, because everybody's so hungry for referrals, for likes. I don't need to be liked. I don't need to be liked at all. I don't care if there's a button right there at the top of Drudge saying like or dislike. Thumbs up, thumbs down, doesn't mean anything. Now, I hope that you come. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to like what I have up there. Now, where I've had a lot of success is I'm getting people from both sides of the aisle. They've always said, oh, he's a right-wing gossip monger, mainly because of Lewinsky in those years, which, by the way, are back. Why aren't we seeing Hillary's lovers? Excuse me. Why aren't we seeing Hillary's lovers?
It's a good question.
Where's the cover-up on this? So many issues that are suppressed on a daily basis. So that's what I try to do every morning.
Incredible. Well, it's amazing to have you here in Austin, Texas. And I tell you, you certainly know how to make an entrance. I'm in a 70-second break, and I turn around, and there's Matt Drudge, just boom. I tell you, I almost had a heart attack, a good one. My cousin said he's never seen me look like that. What was the word, Buckley, you used? No, it's flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted. You used the word flabbergasted. Well, I tell you, this is like the biggest Christmas present early ever because I just admire true independence. And I got to tell you, Matt, and you know this with your crew, and Congress knows this, we wouldn't have won some of these gun battles, some of these border battles, some of these energy battles, and we've lost some too, but we would have lost so many of them if it wasn't for the focal point. And even the White House and the Democrats admit, because I know you're saying you're nonpartisan. I mean, I would guess you're more of a libertarian. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're just a freedom guy.
I can't be controlled. I cannot be controlled. There are no interests here but what I see as the world events, period. That is the truth of the situation.
Well, they hate the fact that they can't control the agenda. Knockout is back. If you want a product that has 10 known ingredients that naturally get your body to relax, your brain to relax, so you get deep, restful sleep, Knockout's it. InfoWarsLife.com. L-theanine, hops flower extract, lemon balm extract, valerian root extract, chamomile flower extract, L-tryptophan extract, melatonin, and more. All organic, all the natural sources. It's the same price as leading brands of melatonin that are 3 milligrams apiece. It has 3 milligrams, the standard recommended dose for an adult. It's got the GABA, so it would probably cost $50 to take all this as separate pills. It's $19.95. You take one or two of these, and it just is really clean, restful sleep is what the reviews are. It's what I've experienced. And it just synergistically puts everything in there. InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com. Or call 888-253-3139.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.